Hey everybody, Randy with Rashley's BBQ. I've been tagged in the BBQ Tag by old Surfing Sapo up in Corpus. Good channel, good friend of mine. Enjoy fishing with him up there when I get the chance. So we got 9 questions. They're over here on my computer to the left, so you'll see me looking away once in a while. And I have to come up with one question of my own, which I haven't even thought of yet, so I'll be kind of multitasking as we go through this. The first question is, what's your go-to smoker? Well, previously that was my Weber Smoky Mountain. I've had an offset smoker, but I didn't like the design. It was too large for just smoking for myself. It was more of a catering and contesting competition smoker. Way overkill for what I was doing, which made it inconvenient. I've had electric, I've had pellet, Traegers, WSM, several different smokers. My go-to smoker now is going to be my Yoder YS640, which I just received delivery on last week. Did my first cook with it last night. I did not videotape it. It was, I call it a clandestine cook because nobody saw it but me. And it came out real nice. So this week we'll be doing a video on that YS640. Temperature stability was excellent. Got plenty of smoke on the meat. That'll be my go-to smoker in the future. What's my go-to rub? Well, that's a good question. I have several. I like the Chupacabra rub from Dos Gringos right here in Texas. I would say that is my go-to rub at this time. I don't make my own rubs that much because time is valuable, and I don't use the time to put all the ingredients together to make my own rub. There's so many good rubs out there on the market. I also use Dizzy Pigs, the Red Eye Express. I guess that would be my second most popular go-to rub. But my primary is the Chupacabra. Love that rub. Baby backs or spares? A lot of people have struggled with this question as I've watched these barbecue tags. I don't struggle with it at all. Hands down, baby backs. I see the majority of the people are saying spares, but my wife does not like the gristles in the spare ribs. So if the wife ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. So for me, it's the baby backs. I know I could trim the spares and probably get rid of most of that gristle, but then I'm paying for a lot of meat I'm going to cut off and throw away or whatever. So for me, it's baby backs. Favorite barbecue channel? Why, oh, why do you do this, guys? There's so many good channels out there. I guess the first channel I saw and got hooked on videos is Surfing Sapo up in Corpus, and I say that was probably my favorite channel because he's the guy who got me interested in barbecue videos. I know Lyndon up there, super nice guy. Been up there and fished with him, cooked on the beach, had lots of fun. So that's my favorite, but I can't discount all the guys out there. Dan Robertson, Larry, Wolf Pit, Dan up at Smoky Goodness, Russ down at Smoking Ribs. There's so many good channels out there, and if I start naming them, I'm going to forget people. Troy up at T-Roy Cooks. There's just so many good ones out there. It's hard, but I guess I always go back to the first one I started watching and learning from, and that was Sapo up in Corpus. Cooking with Surfing Sapo. Favorite beer? Mine. Randy's beer. I can't say I came up with a recipe, but I do brew my own beer. I got some right here. Cheers. My glass from Fredericksburg Brewing Company. This is an American light ale. I know all you home brewers are going to say, that's a wussy beer. That's okay. It's what I like. I do drink heavier bodied beers, dark beers. Everybody misunderstands and thinks a dark beer is a heavy bodied beer. Not always the case, but I like them all. But my favorite here in South Texas, when it's 105 degrees outside and you absolutely want something to kill your thirst, an American light ale. It's kind of a light flavor. It's not a heavy flavor. It's crisp, good carbonation. It's got Cascade hops in it, which doesn't make it overly bitter, but it's got a pretty good hops bite to it. Just good beer. Comes out at about a 3.8, 4% alcohol level, so I would call it a session beer. You can drink quite a bit of it without getting too tipsy. Some people will call it a lawnmower beer because when you're outside mowing the yard and it gets too hot, turn to the lawnmower beer. But my American Light Ale, I believe it's Midwest Brewing Company is where I get the ingredients for that one. Look them up. Nothing special on the yeast either. I think it's a Safal, or however you say it, SAFAL 05. The most common yeast probably out there for just basic brewing. That's my favorite beer. Biggest influence in barbecue. Everybody out there has had a direct influence in my barbecue. The flavors, the ingredients. Can't think of one specific person that stands out other than any more or more than any others, with the exception of saying that, again, back to my first videos that I watched in barbecuing. But I've been barbecuing for many years, probably before there were barbecue videos. But I picked up a lot of tips and tricks from Sapo up there. And Troy, been watching your offset cooker videos and picking up some tips, because one of these days I'm going to have a 2-Yoder family, and we're going to have the YS640 pellet grill as well as a loaded Wichita or something like that sitting out in the backyard. So a little bit of everybody. What are your thoughts on pellet, gas, electric smokers? I've never had a gas smoker. I've had a gas grill. Didn't particularly like it. I could get some wood chips in there with a smoke bomb and get me some wood flavor, but even on its lowest settings, it was a little too hot to smoke with. It was more of a grill. Electric smokers, I've got one, master built, 40-inch. What do I think about it? It's a pretty good smoker. I'm not going to say I'm looking for Ronco set it and forget it type barbecue cooks, but I do lead a very busy life, so I don't like to tend a smoker. If I'm going to tend a smoker every 30 minutes to an hour, I want to be tending an offset, not an electric adding chips every hour. I know there's going to be people that say, oh, there's the amazing smoker. Well, it never worked well for me. It worked. I just did not like the flavor of the smoke that it gave. But electric smokers do work. They're a viable option. A lot of people can't afford $3,000 smokers. These electric smokers are out there for $300 or less on sale. It's a good avenue to get into the hobby or into the art. Smoking meat is an art. A lot of people may not believe that, but you guys out there who've been doing it a while, you understand what I'm talking about. Anybody can do it, but it's an art to do it right. Pellet grills, my Yoder, I keep saying Yider, my Yoder YS640 that I just got, did the first cook with it last night. It worked wonderful. I've had 2 Traegers. What do I think about Traegers? I'm not going to talk anybody down, but the early Traegers were pretty good. I've got an old Traeger that's about 10 years old. It was heavier steel, worked well, maintained temperatures. When I ordered the Yoder YS640, I gave that one to my brother-in-law, and he's enjoying it. That one is over 12 years old, 10 years old. I'm not sure exactly, but 10 to 12 years old, and it's still working. Never replaced the igniter, the heating rod. Never replaced a fan, nothing. It's just still going, original condition. I've got a newer Traeger that my wife bought me a couple of months ago. Super thin metal. It's hard to keep stable temperatures in it. The controller just feels cruddy. When you try to change temperature settings, it kind of catches and snaps, and then it feels like it's just floating around. The knob is tight on the controller, but internally there's something wrong with it. Temperatures won't stay stable. Just not happy with that thing at all. Last night on this Yoder cook, I did a brisket, and that thing sat there within 10 to 15 degrees maximum fluctuation, like 6 above, 7 below, something like that. But it just sat there in Cadillac. No complaints at all on that thing. Seems like it's going to be a wonderful grill. Again, not set it and forget it, but that's as close as you can get, I think, because I value my sleep. And I enjoy being able to set that temperature. And once I put the meat to bed, after I'm through spritzing or whatever I'm going to do in the early hours, and wrap it in butcher paper or foil, just depends on what's going on and how I'm feeling about the meat that day. The rest of the night is up to the pit. So that's my thoughts on pellet, gas, and electric. To sauce or not to sauce? I don't sauce brisket. I don't sauce beef ribs. I do sauce pork ribs and chicken. Chicken, I prefer it without sauce. So I guess you could say I sauce half the chicken because my wife likes the sauce cooked on, so I do that for her. The ribs, I can take them either way. I personally prefer them dry. My wife prefers them sauced. So I'll usually sauce half the rack. When I use a sauce, I like something sweet and hot and tangy, all combined. So I tend to take a good barbecue sauce, take your pick, something that's got a little heat to it and maybe a little tanginess. And then I like to mix in some Texas bird bath or Texas rib candy to get that sweet. Texas bird bath also has some habanero in it, so you get a little hot off of it too. And I like them either way when it comes to that, but I still leave half a rack unsauced for myself. So both ways, and it depends. Not the answer you're looking for, but that's mine. What's the difference between grilling and BBQing? Well, grilling is high heat. It's grilling. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, there's Surfing Sapo.
How you doing today?
Hey, be quiet, Surfer. I'm trying to talk here. Grilling is high temperatures, fast cooking, hamburgers. You might grill some chicken, 350 degrees and hotter probably, somewhere in that range. Steaks, you're going to grill steaks at between 500 and 700 degrees, depending on how you like to do your steaks. Barbecuing, for me, low and slow. Barbecuing for me is under 250 to 275 degrees, somewhere down around 225 as a matter of fact at times. Depends on how much time and what I'm cooking. Having said that, I kind of barbecue a steak and then grill it because I do the reverse sear on my steaks. So I'll cook it low and slow till I get that steak up to about 120 degrees, 125 degrees internal temperature. And then I'll put it on a real hot grill and grill it off at 500 or 700 degrees to get my grill marks and get that sear on the outside and get that Maillard reaction going, brown off the outside of it. So reverse sear, barbecue, then grill. So that's the difference between barbecuing and grilling in my mind. Make up your own barbecue tag question is the last one. So I'm going to say okay, my question is who wants some more beer? I do. Cheers, guys. Excuse me. When you get ready to grill or smoke, take your choice. Doesn't matter. When you get ready to cook, do you let your meat come up to room temperature? Or do you bring it straight from the refrigerator or even from a short period in the freezer to get it right down to the freezing level and go straight onto the grill or the smoker with it? As we've all heard, the majority of your smoke comes prior to the skin or the outside of the meat reaching 140 degrees. So the colder the meat, the longer it's going to take to get to 140 degrees, and the more smoke it can take on the outside of the meat before it quits accepting smoke or quits taking the smoke in. However, they also say if your meat is not up to room temperature before you put it on the grill, it'll contract and get tough. Well, it might. I've never had a big issue with that. For myself, I get the meat cold. I bring it straight from the refrigerator and put it on an already warmed up grill with the smoke already being generated, whether it's by chips or logs or pellets. I just make sure I have my smoke flowing before I put my meat on the smoker. That way it spends the maximum amount of time under 140 degrees without going too far and getting into that range where bacteria can breed. But that's my answer to that question. It's an interesting question. It'll probably pose some discussion, bring about some discussion as to whether it's better to put it on the grill cold or warm or room temperature. That's my question. And I need to tag 3 people as a final step. And I'm going to say Dan Robertson up there at Smoky Goodness. I don't remember if I've seen you do one of these tags. And if I name you and you've already done one, just don't worry about it. Forget about it. But if not, I would appreciate it if you would do one. They're kind of fun. So Dan Robertson up at Smoky Goodness. TNT Barbecue. And for my final selection, I believe it's Johnny Stewart. Is that you up there at Texas Style Cuisines? Yeah, if not, it's Texas Style Cuisines. I don't remember if you've done one or not, but I'll put all 3 of these in my description box, and I'll go back and look you up and make sure that I send you an email or a private message to let you know that you've been tagged. So that's it. I hope you all enjoyed it. And we'll be with you again later on in the week when we do a cook on the Yoder YS640. So y'all stay tuned to Rashley's Border Q. I'm Randy, and we hope to see you again. Thanks for tuning in.